Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today, well, this video will probably go over a few days, but we're gonna get ready to go drag racing. You guys already saw us get the single turbo setup on. Now we have to do seat belts, harnesses, a fire suppression system, which isn't required, but I decided to add it. We'll put our transmission blanket back on, check our second gear band, oil change after our head gasket, and currently we have to do some toe pig maintenance. We're gonna do brakes in the front, rotors, pads, and a Synergy track bar, as well as our diff service that I did not do earlier. So I'm gonna go ahead, we'll start on the toe pig first, and then we will move over to the race truck. Here is the Thurin track bar. So hands down the most informational and helpful instructions of all time. They also put all the torque specs and all the bolt sizes on here. That is incredible. Really, really incredible. So it does come preset for a leveled truck. We are not leveled, so I'm gonna have to make this smaller, but just wanted to highlight, I'm not sponsored by these guys at all, paid the same price most people do, but good construction it looks like. We have kind of like a Johnny joint, I suppose, up here, and then your traditional Heim over here. And again, just packaged well, great instructions. Love this little label here. It tells you exactly what to do. I dig it. We're gonna make this bar, I think it's gotta be a 1/4 inch shorter since we are not lifted at all, but other than that, guys, I think I'll be buying Thurin from here on out. Both sides of the brakes are done. I just did a time lapse on one side. It's literally the reverse. I did learn that pry bar trick where you jam the caliper over off TikTok. It didn't open it all the way so you could put it back on with fresh stuff, but it did make fighting the rotor or caliper getting off a lot easier. So some of you guys might have known that, some of you guys might not, but it does work. Just CarQuest, premium, pads, rotors, it'll be fine. And now we'll start working on the track bar. Back for our second night prepping this thing. I noticed when I had it up in the air that one of these bolts was like kind of stripped out a little bit. So we're gonna pull it apart. See, you guys can see there. We're gonna pull it apart and see. I'm assuming it might have gotten sent in with an impact. It's nothing that I touched, but who knows at this point, and I'm not here to point fingers, but I can tell you that a caliper bracket is something that I want to investigate. So let me get this pulled apart, and you guys will get a nice up and close on these wheel wood brakes. Okay, so we can see here, obviously we have some adjustable control arms. It's adjusted up here. That one's adjusted back there. These are, I guess, a billet hub, maybe? No, looks like a factory hub, correction, and just a really interesting rotor configuration here. And yeah, safety wire right there. Nice Heim steering, kind of get you guys up and close. Dual shocks, and herein lies the problem right here. Looks like this caliper bracket is essentially stripped out. So what I'm going to do is get this other bolt out and figure out what we need to helicoil this. Now, for those of you guys that aren't familiar with helicoil, it is essentially a insert. You go up to the next, up here, something that David and I actually use a lot due to strip bolts and etc. on a lot of these higher mileage trucks. Here we go. Basically, you tap to the next size up, and then you use the thread repair here, and basically you drill to this tap size, you tap the hole, and then this helicoil goes into these taps, or into these threads here rather, excuse me, and then this becomes the finished size that was originally stripped. So in this case, M8125, M610, these are quarter 20. I'm not sure what those are. These are probably 3/8. M14, these are 3/8 16. So you guys kind of get the drill, or gist rather. But let's take a look and get this apart and see what we can find. And what I found is it was actually not stripped at all. It turns out that there's just a nut missing on this caliper bracket. You guys can see that they used Nordlocks, but unfortunately the Nordlocks did not hold. So honestly, a lot less work than I originally thought. I am going to double check the other side as well to make sure it's tight, but that is an easily rectified situation. So I think what I'll do is add some Loctite red to these to make sure we don't have this issue again, and double check the other side, and we should be good to go. Got the nuts put on the rotors. I got to put this tire back on, but we were very lucky. Tyler Kipp over at Industrial Injection came in clutch with us. So originally we were using the OptiTorque head studs. I might have said ARP, and that was a misspeak. These were the OptiTorque Torque Master 14 mil studs. Given what we saw at the horsepower, etc., I went to go retorque these, and about 5 of these feel horrible, like really spongy. I did reach out to OptiTorque. They informed me that hot retorques are not necessary. You know, I'm sure they have science and data to prove that, so I'm not going to say that their data is wrong. But from what I have learned over my time in this industry, if you don't get a good crush on the fire ring, you don't get a good crush on the fire ring. So I am going to be replacing these shortly here with some L19 Hazley ARP deck plate head studs. And for those of you guys that aren't familiar with Hazley, it's Hazley Machine. They are a huge sled pulling engine building company. They make injection lines, a lot of 12 valve stuff. They have their premier Super B sled pulling engine, which is a deck plate. I'm not sure if they are the first deck plate, but they certainly were doing it very early on in the game. Huge thank you to Pat and Patty over there. Basically what happened, Industrial Injection had a set of studs, no nuts washers. Patty over at Hazley had these nuts and washers. So I'm really thankful. The other thing I love about both of those companies in this situation, they didn't steal from anybody else's order just because it's UCC or anything like that. And I have to tip my hat to that, because it's very easy. I see some of your guys' comments and stuff. And I'll be honest, I feel like some companies do treat me a little different, maybe faster service, lower price, whatever. And I'd be lying if I said sometimes I don't get a killer deal on stuff. But I always have tried to tell people not to steal other people's products to fix my stuff. And I hope that they never do. No one ever tells me, but I made sure when I talked to Tyler and Patty that I didn't steal from somebody that had been waiting for 9 months. It just so happened that Industrial had this like random set, and Hazley keeps nuts and washers in stock because they do strip, get lost, stuff like that. So huge thank you to both of those guys for hooking it up. Anyway, we'll get those swapped out. Those won't be here until the day before we leave, and I'm just going to do them one at a time. I'm telling you all this because I might forget, and I don't want you guys to think that we're misleading anybody here. So these will be coming out, and you'll see a much different stud in here, and I'm very happy with that. In other news, Tyler Kipp over at Industrial Injection got us a GT55. So you guys know when I talked earlier, S400 was kind of what we had. I didn't have a ton of money to throw at a turbocharger. This is one I had already bought for a different project, and we were gonna make it work. That's why we had to run all the gates and everything else, and our nitrous tune-up has to be on point. I'm not taking anything away from Paul Cato or Ethan Patterson and any of the guys going super fast with S400s, but I feel like the margin of error is very small. So we have a 94 millimeter GT55 on the way. It'll be here before our drag race session. In the meantime, I'm gonna go ahead, take this S400 off, get our GT55 mocked up from our compounds because it's physically the same size, get that bolted on. And the nice part is, if we lose the GT55, we'll have all this S400 stuff with us anyway as a backup setup. So I don't feel like we wasted anything. If we want to turn the truck down and run 590, this is a great setup. So, you know, it's one of those things like, yeah, I burned a set of ferrules. The wastegate pipes I actually designed to work with S400 or GT55. So I already kind of saw us going GT55. I just didn't think we were going to be able to afford it this quickly. The hood stack pipe, I will be remaking real quick. Not a big deal. Basically, we'll measure the distance from the center line of this turbine housing to the center line of the GT55, and we might even get lucky where this actually still lines up in the hole because the hole is so big on a 4-inch. But either way, I'm going to rip this off, get our GT55 on, and I will show you guys what it looks like as a single. And once we get our actual GT55, you guys will get to see that as well. But that's what we're working on tonight. The head stud issue is covered. The GT55 issue is solved. And again, huge thank you to Tyler Kipp. He always, I tell you what, sometimes Tyler kind of irritates me a little bit, and I'll be honest, and I've told him this before, but I tell you what, when you need parts, sometimes that man can pull gold out of a dog poop bag. That guy is something else. So I always try to reach out to him, and we do buy some parts, but yeah, huge thank you to him and making it happen. So let's get to work. I present to you the GT55 S400 adapter. Now, guys, be easy. This is really my first time welding stainless to, oh, look at that stop-start. Stainless to cast, steel to cast, but we did preheat this. Basically what I did is I cut the flange off an S400, and basically what it's going to allow us to do is this right here will bolt onto the GT55, and then our downpipe that's set up for S400, which is somewhere around here, will then adapt to this. So I'm going to get it put on, and you guys will get a better idea. And there's the gist of it for you guys. It's a little hard to get the hood on and off, not gonna lie, but it is doable. You just kind of gotta, it pushed it back just a skosh. So if you just pop the hood like that, then you can get the hood off. But you know, guys, I'm pretty confident we won't even have to take this hood off. Oh my God. But yeah, all in all, not bad. You guys can kind of get the gist. So we didn't have to remake the hood stack. We didn't have to redo our cross bolts. You just tighten this clamp, the little bit of weight we added, guys, I don't think it really matters all that much. So anyway, this will allow us to go from S400 to GT55, same hood stack, same charge pipe minus that little bit of addition. The wastegate pipes fit. The key to this is interchangeability, planning for the what ifs and stuff like that. So do I hope I blow this GT55 up? Absolutely not. However, if we do, like last year, we ran into a huge problem where nothing fit once we lost our deck plate. Now this year, with that issue, what we have is if we lose turbos, we can easily swap. That's easy, all that. Now, if we get to where we have to use this 6.4 liter, very, very simple. We have a On3 intercooler that has not been cut for Vangens, and we have a pipe to go here that we used on David's truck. Since this is a factory 3rd gen location, should bolt right in. That little guy goes up there, and basically from there we'll be running like a dual pump kit, and so that all stays the same. And on this side we will run the 480 GT55 compound setup that we took to KOS, which also goes to a factory 3rd gen. The only downside I see to this is I don't know if the hood stack hole is quite in the right spot, although looking at it, I think the hood stack hole might be a little bit closer to this. But with Dave's hood, if you guys remember, we were able to cock the stack over and get it closer to this side. So with that being said, if we lose the motor for whatever reason, I hope not, but if we do, 6.4 goes in. It's got its own fuel system, own injectors, flex plate, adapter plate. You plop this puppy in there, we'll run our fuel distribution block just like that. We'll bring some extra stuff. It should be a pretty easy swap. And again, I don't want any of this to happen, but last year taught me a lot on being prepared, having a good plan, having a backup plan. And in this case, we can lose turbos and we'll be okay. We could lose an injection pump, we have extras. We could lose a motor, we have extras. We lose a transmission, we have extras. Transfer case, drive shafts, all that stuff. I am not saying that we're gonna win, but I am not trying to have any excuse on why we didn't perform our absolute best come UCC time. So that's kind of why all of these things are taking place. It's awesome that we have some time to do it. I feel like we really did UCC prep a lot better this year. I knew what it needed from last year, and everything's always a learning experience. So anyway, single turbo setup done. This video will go on one more night. Tomorrow night I will show you guys the new head studs like we already covered, and I will also show you the new turbo. It's a GT55, so it just looks like any other turbo, but we'll do that, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. I'm gonna call it a night for tonight and pick this back up tomorrow night. Well, the booty has arrived. We have our, I thought these were L19. Turns out these are in fact 625 Hazley head studs. And here she is, 94mm GT55, courtesy of Tyler Kipp over at Industrial Injection. I appreciate you, buddy. Let's get the turbo. Will wait. I'm gonna actually pull the turbo off this just to make head studs a little easier. Turbo and then probably the wastegates. Get that ripped off and replace the head studs one by one. You guys have seen me do it on many a truck. It'll be the same kind of procedure. So I'm gonna get that done, and I will show you guys what she looks like when we get the new turbo and these studs in. Sorry I cut the time lapse a little short. I got a phone call halfway through, but we got our Hazley deck plate studs, and yes, they are all the same length, which is why that little guy is just kind of barely up there, but we talked to some people that know a lot more than I do, and that is what they suggested, so that is what we shall do. From here, I'm going to set the lash, put our new GT55 on, and basically do another hot retorque. I'm not sold that those did the right job, so what I'm going to do is get it all put together, no intercooler again, let it get hot with no coolant in it, and hit them one more time, and that'll conclude our race prep. Look at our fresh window net over here, boys and girls. Very tight. The other one was tight. This one's even tighter, so I'm hoping just keeping it in that position will kind of stretch it a little bit, which you want them to be tight, obviously, but yeah, that is the goal with that. And that, we're getting pretty close to the end here. I'm gonna get fired up, let you guys hear it with the 94mm GT55, and yeah, that'll be a wrap on getting ready to go. All right, there she is. A little smudgy on the handprint there, but yeah, let's get this old girl fired up. Haven't heard her run in a little bit. Now we got head torqued. Let's go. We did do an oil change. I did put oil in it. Air dog's primed. Let's hear her fire up here. Guys, at this point, I'd say 4 hours has gone by. You guys saw that pop and that fireball. I wasn't trying to really spool it. I was just trying to heat up the engine oil so we could do a hot retorque. And normally that doesn't happen. All right, guys, so we had that fire come out the stack. I got it hot, did the retorque, and I pulled it apart. I pulled all the injectors out. I did a leak down test, kind of redneck like. Didn't hear anything funny. I just got done doing a compression test. Last night I was really scratching my head on this truck here, but I think what happened, motor was still a little cold. I got a little too generous on the old throttle there apparently, and it just backfired. No nitrous, it was just fuel. So I did a compression test. We have a couple of high holes, like closer to each other, and then I have 2 holes that aren't significantly lower, but they're right at that 10, 11, 12%. So I don't know. I ordered a new set of total seal rings. They'll be here tomorrow. I think what I'm gonna do is put it all together and take it drag racing and just start slow, keep an eye on the catch can, hope that it's just a fluke. Now the numbers being like statistically low is fine, like the gauge can be off, stuff like that. You just wanna make sure they're close, and it's called the 10% rule. So you take your highest, and all the others should be within 10% of your highest. So we had 2 that were, really 1 that was a little bit lower, but it wasn't like dead. I disconnected all the injectors while the truck was running one at a time. I just undid the injector electronics. They all made the truck stumble. I don't have any oil vapor coming out of the valve cover. It's just really weird. So I'm gonna go into drag racing cautiously, hope we don't have any issues. That's kind of Man, I don't know. I mean, part of me does want to just rip this thing apart. The other part of me wants to kick myself in the butt for revving it. And again, I mean, guys, it was like 2,000 RPM. We're not talking like red line, 2,000 RPM. So I think I'm gonna chalk this one up to a good learning experience and hope that it didn't just bite us in the butt. At the end of the day, we can get rings put in there. It's not the end of the world. I can have Steve rehome the block real quick. Not the end of the world, but we are getting short on time. So I had quite a bit of time to reflect on it, look at it, think on it, talk to people, and all the data that I have gathered is leading me to, I think the engine's okay. I will never do that again. But yeah, I mean, you're gonna have blow by. The diamond pistons have a lot of piston in the wall, and they don't really seal up till they're hot anyway. So I'm not surprised that the compression is just generally low on this because the engine's cold when I was cranking it. But yeah, that's how she sits. All the injectors and everything are over there, but I'm gonna show you guys kind of what we were doing here. Yeah, a lot of fuel spraying. But you put the rocker arms on, you have this injector hold down, and then this gauge here records it. Made a heck of a mess, but again, I mean, we're trying to be safe. For those of you guys that have gone this fast, you guys know it's a lot of work. Me, like, I hoped this weekend that I break my personal best to 583. I really do. I hope we go out there and we kill it. And it'll be a learning experience. For those of you guys that aren't at this level and want to get there, just remember, sometimes it does not always go in your favor. You know, I revved the engine when it was cold. Probably shouldn't have done that. I thought 100-degree oil temp was warm enough to at least start to fluctuate the throttle, and I was wrong. I would not recommend that. For reference, usually on a dyno or a drag race, 140 degrees, 130, 140 degrees oil temp is when you can give it the sauce. But since there was no load on the truck, I thought we could get away with it, and I was wrong. And for about 6 hours, I have steamed and looked over this and cut open the oil filter, and I see nothing wrong. Just cylinders, hold on. Four and 5 are the problem. So I don't know, it's weird, but we'll put it back together. Anyway, guys, hopefully you like this video. Drop a comment down below, subscribe if you are not already, and as always, I'll catch y'all in the next one.